name is Jenny, and I'm a wife and mom raising 2 kids. But I used to live a more glamorous life as a TV reporter. I was on the nightly news interviewing pop stars and politicians. So when I said goodbye to TV and hello to motherhood, I suddenly discovered what we moms are up against. We live in a world that tells us to be rich and famous, thin and successful. You know, almost nobody says, "Oh, hey, you're a mom? That is fabulous." But you are fabulous, and I'm here to tell you why.
It's the Channelmom Show, celebrating you with Jenny Dean Schmidt.
Attention, moms. You know, we're also concerned about how we look on the outside, but what about our insides? Now you can age-proof your body with Protandem. Just reach for what's been called the best anti-aging product out there, as seen on the Today Show. Sign up now as a preferred customer, and after receiving your 3rd bottle, get a $50 Visa gift card. Just click on the ad to the right of this video to get started.
Okay. Get ready to hear what men really think. Even if guys may not know what they really think, Brian Goins does, because he is a guy who admits what he thinks himself. Because of this, his new book, Playing Hurt, has real help for women and men wanting to improve the way that they relate. Welcome, Brian.
Hey, how are you?
We're good. We're so glad to have you. You have a little fan base here in Colorado.
Oh, man, I tell you, well, that's good. That's good. I appreciate that.
You've got a book, Playing Hurt. I'll hold it up for the camera, and it's called A Guy's Strategy for a Winning Marriage. But I'd like to think that people who are planning to get married or people who are divorced and planning to get remarried, that you're going to be a help to them to get today. Your whole premise is based on how guys act in sports versus marriage. So just go for it and tell people why you wrote the book and what it's about.
Well, yeah, probably because I'm a sports junkie and I like small books. I think that was really the 2 premises behind it. I wanted to write something that guys could read on a plane with, in one connection type of a thing, and that started with the idea that as men, we all have some story of somebody that we admire who played through pain, whether it was Michael Jordan when he was battling with the stomach flu, or Kirk Gibson when he was with the Dodgers and he hit the homer against Eckersley in the bottom of the 9th in the World Series game. Or even though no man would admit to watching women's gymnastics, it could be Carrie Strug when she nailed that vault in the 96 Olympics on a broken ankle. But we all love and have some story of a man who is willing to, or a woman who is willing to fight through the pain for the glory of winning the game.
Right.
And the contention is that's really what Ephesians 5 is all about. When Paul talks to husbands, he says we're to love like Christ loved, and the example he gives is the cross. And so really we can't love like that unless we've been hurt. And there may be no better place to get hurt on a consistent basis than in marriage. And I'll tell you, my wife is the one that plays hurt far more than I do. She endures it. And
now, are you just being gracious, or do you really mean that? Do you really think she plays hurt more than you?
I really do. Men have a propensity to be passive, and so I think women have a tendency to endure more of that. That men expend a lot of their energy at work and other places, and then when they come home, oftentimes it's just there's kind of leftovers for the wife and kids, and so it requires women to step up a little bit more, unfortunately. And I just honestly believe that as men, our egos get bruised way too easily, and we have a propensity to be passive. And with that, we need to call men up. And what that looks like is I think men are actually made to initiate, and they're made to conquer for God's glory, and they're made to do these things. But when we get our eyes off the prize and we get our eyes on self, we lose sight of that. And so hopefully what the book does is it's not as much of a how-to. I mean, there are practical things in it.
Yeah. 2 things, very, very quickly. Number one, here in Colorado, we're kind of Tim Tebow fans. So I personally remember seeing, just a little bit, Josh says, a video that I watched recently. Is this not true, Josh, that in high school he made a sort of a winning touchdown on either a broken leg or a broken ankle or something? I watched a video recently. Is that not true?
I'm not sure it was broken. Well, he was hurt. He was hurt, yes.
And he did it. And I watched him. And you're right. That does evoke a certain kind of a feeling, Brian. And I think a lot of guys really identify with it. But here's my question for you. What about a guy who's listening today? Now, I happen to be a Christian, so I get where you're going with the glory of God thing. But what about a guy who's listening and he's not there, but he wants to save his marriage? What do you say to him about the fact that he does tend to retreat when he's hurt, and he doesn't play hurt to the way that he would on a sports field in marriage? What do you say to him?
Well, I'd probably throw out a Dr. Phil question. How's that working for you?
Yeah.
Because ultimately, whenever I play the silent card with Jen, and I do the same thing, I'll throw that down better than anybody else when they're in the midst of an argument or something like that, and I throw down on that card and I retreat. It never works out well for me. It's always harder. It always takes more initiative to kind of come back, or we bury the pain and we ignore it, and then it blows up in front of our kids or in front of my friends, or I take all of that anger and that frustration and I direct it towards somebody else. I mean, it never works.
Well, what's the alternative okay, if there's a sports fan guy listening out there, or a woman who's married to one, and it's like, yeah, he lays a silent card. He does tend to retreat. He just gives up. We don't talk it out, which is what a woman always wants to do for the most part. She wants to talk it out. Right. What's his alternative when he's so tempted to retreat? Unlike on the sports field, most men do not retreat on the sports field. What do you say to him when he's tempted to take that retreat and lay the silent card? What's the alternative? Just to bury his pride?
I would ask, if this were a game, if this were the battlefield, if you were hurt and it was out there, but you knew the game was on the line, what would you do?
Yeah.
Or put it in a work perspective. Let's say a guy's not an athlete. You've got to secure the client for the boss. You got to advance the name of the business, and you're exhausted, and you can't, and you're fatigued, and you're hurt, and you don't think it's going to happen. What do? Do you retreat or do you advance? And I think in those situations, men go, no, I'm going to suck it up and do it. And I go, okay, well, where is there more on the line in life when you think about it? Because no one's going to remember. You're not going to want your boss by your bed when you're on your deathbed. You're not going to, you're not going to care about all the business trips you went on. You're not going to care about even the sports and you're not going to keep the trophies that you had in high school around you when you're dying. Yeah. You're going to want your wife and kids around you. So what game has more on the line in life than your marriage?
And Brian, I'm going to let Christine and Shelley chime in here. I'm just going to say, I think sometimes, I love my country, I love America, but I think sometimes we have promoted so many other things as being more important than marriage, that marriage has kind of fallen into the middle, and it's like, it is what it is, and if I get a divorce, I get a divorce. Right. And so I think it is kind of hard for men to treat it as, hey, my marriage is on the line, the way they would a game. I mean, what do you think, Christine?
Well, yeah, I think what Brian said is true. Like on your deathbed, what's really important? Yeah. And I do think divorce is so easy, and it's just, if I don't like this, I'll just get out and, maybe try again. And I don't think women or men really sometimes look at the big picture and think it's worth the heartaches and the struggling through and the trying to work it out. And so, I think people don't look at that big picture.
Yeah. Okay. He makes some great points. So we look forward to coming back with Brian Goins, the author of Playing Hurt, who tells guys how they behave on the sports field is probably how they should behave in relationships and marriage. So call us with your questions, 303-297-1510, when we come back for more of the Channel Mom Show.